I guess I should start by telling you my name's Amanda, and I'm 30 years old. To be honest, I've never been good at sharing personal stuff like this, but I've been feeling so alone lately that I guess I need to get it out somehow. So, yeah, here goes nothing. About 8 months ago, I found out I have herpes. Genital herpes, to be exact. Just saying it out loud still makes me feel like I'm swallowing broken glass. The whole thing began around last Christmas. I'd started dating this guy named Brian. We met through some mutual friends at a holiday party. And I'm not gonna lie, I fell for him pretty hard right from the start. He was funny, like genuinely funny, tall, and had these bright blue eyes that kind of sparkled when he made a joke. I thought, finally, I'd met a decent guy after all the random Tinder disasters and lame first dates. We took it slow at first, just hanging out, going to movies, grabbing drinks. After about a month, we slept together. I don't know. Maybe I should have asked more questions. Maybe I should have been more careful. But it felt so right at the time, and I trusted him. I mean, why wouldn't I? He seemed honest, and we did use a condom. I never imagined something like this would happen to me. Stuff like that happens to other people, right? Anyway, a few weeks later, I noticed these weird little sores down there. I remember standing in the shower, trying to rinse off after a long day at work, and I felt this sting, like a tiny cut. When I looked with a mirror, I saw these small clusters of blisters. I freaked out, obviously. I'm talking full-on panic. I called my best friend Melanie and told her I was scared out of my mind. She tried to calm me down, but I could tell she was worried too. When I got in to see my doctor, she took one look and said, "We'll run a test, but this looks like herpes." Hearing that word felt like the floor dropped out from under me. I was holding the edge of the exam table, pressing my nails into the paper cover, just trying not to cry. By the time I left the clinic, I was numb. Walking back to my apartment, it was like everything looked different. It was freezing cold, and my eyes were watering. Partly from the wind, partly from the fact that I just wanted to curl up in bed and scream. I got the official test results a few days later, positive for HSV2. The doctor tried to reassure me that it's common, manageable, and that my life wasn't over. But honestly, all I could think was, no one's ever gonna want me now. I know that sounds dramatic, but that's where my head went. I felt dirty, ashamed, like I'd done something horrible. Maybe I'd been too trusting, too naive. I started to wonder if Brian knew he had it. Did he just not tell me? Or maybe he genuinely didn't know. I mean, a lot of people don't even get symptoms. I still don't have the answer to that, and I'm not sure I ever will. I tried calling Brian. He never picked up. I left a message telling him we needed to talk about something important, but he never called back. Eventually, I texted him and just said it. "I tested positive for HSV2. You should get tested." He replied, "I'm sorry," and then blocked me. Just like that, poof, he was gone. That hurt almost as much as the diagnosis itself. It was like he'd written me off the second I wasn't perfect. The first outbreak was painful. Not just physically, which was awful, but emotionally. I'd lie in bed at night trying not to move too much because every movement reminded me of the sores. I'd cry into my pillow feeling humiliated and stupid. I felt like I couldn't tell anyone else. Melanie knew, but even telling her made me feel like she was looking at me differently, even though she swore she wasn't. Work was hard. I'd be in meetings or on conference calls, and I'd just kind of zone out, thinking, I have herpes, over and over, like a broken record in my head. It's not like I could mention it to my coworkers. They had no idea what kind of emotional chaos was going on behind. I've tried to date since then, just once. I met a guy online and we had a great first date. Drinks and appetizers at this cozy bar, lots of laughing, some decent eye contact. He asked me if I wanted to go to a movie the next weekend, and I said yes. But by the time that next weekend rolled around, I was panicking again. If things got serious, I'd have to tell him. I imagined the conversation 100 times in my head. Listen, before we do anything intimate, I need you to know I have herpes. In my mind, he'd get up and walk out. Maybe he wouldn't, but I convinced myself he would. So I canceled the date, told him work got crazy. He said maybe we could do it another time. And I said sure, but I never followed up. It's hard to put into words how lonely it feels. I know it's not the end of the world. I know millions of people live with this. I've read the stats, I've skimmed support forums online, though I haven't worked up the nerve to join one. And I know it's manageable with medication and precautions. But none of that takes away the shame I feel. None of that makes it easier to look in the mirror and see myself as worthy or desirable. I guess the saddest part is that I haven't really forgiven myself. I still beat myself up for trusting Brian, for not asking more questions, for not having the talk before we got into bed. I'm trying to get past that, but it's slow going. Sometimes I just want someone to look at me and say, "It's okay. This doesn't change who you are." Melanie's tried, and I'm grateful for her, but I still feel like she can't fully understand what it's like to carry this secret around. It's like walking through life with this giant scarlet letter, except nobody can see it. Only I know it's there, and it messes with my head. I'm hoping that with time, it'll get easier. Maybe I'll meet someone who gets it and doesn't run. Or maybe I'll stop putting so much pressure on myself to be perfect, to be clean in the way society demands. But right now, yeah, it's just sad and hard and lonely. I don't have a nice, uplifting ending to this story. It's just where I am right now. Sitting alone in my apartment, feeling like I'm carrying around a secret that'll scare anyone away. I'm hoping that one day I won't feel this way, that I'll find some light in all this darkness. But today, this is my reality, and it hurts.